Hello everyone and welcome back. We are here for your finals of the Pokémon 2020 Bochum Regional Championships. We are going to be kicking off in a moment, but first we're going to start by talking about these players, talking a little bit about their journey through the tournament, getting to know them a little bit better. We've seen them a few times already on stream, so we're going to be kicking over straight to these players. Let's get your finals underway.
Yeah, we're going to be having an all-Spanish final here in the Bochum Regional Championships here. And we're going to be starting off with Guillermo Castilla.
We are, and Guillermo's a player that we've talked about a little bit. He's been on stream for the last 3 rounds, including this one. So we've seen quite a lot of what he has to offer, what his team is capable of, but also what he as a player is capable of. And let's just run through those accomplishments once again. We have the 2011 Spanish national champion, the 2012 Italian national champion, 2012 World Championships 7th place, getting top 8 in that World Championships that year. And then we jump all the way forwards to 2020, where we have the Sheffield Regional Championships top 4 placing. So a player that has been there for a long time playing VGC. We've had the pleasure of watching him, I had the pleasure at least of watching him way back in the day. Now we're getting the pleasure of watching him these days, coming back after a little bit of a break, coming onto stream and doing so well.
Yeah, really nice to see how consistent a player can be across all these formats, even when they are so many years apart, going back into 2011 and 2012, being so successful and still being able to carry that over into 19 and 20. But here we've got his opponent in Alex Soto, probably not as well known a player here, but this is definitely his breakout performance. As you can see here, he's been successful at some of his locals and he's had a regional finish before with that top 16, but this is really the big one for him. This is the true breakout for Alex here, and it really goes to show that even if you are under the radar, if you are not that well known a player, you can really still put in these big performances.
Exactly. You've just got to come to these tournaments and give it a go. You never know what's going to happen on the day, and sometimes you have a really bad day, sometimes it doesn't go exactly as you planned. But for Alex in this case, maybe he was coming to see what the format was like. Obviously everybody wants to play to win, but not everyone expects to get to the finals straight away, but Alex has managed to do it. So we're going to jump straight into team preview here and run down the teams for you.
So I hope you're as excited as we are for this final of the Bochum Regional Championships. And Guillermo is going to be running that Arcanine, Wash Rotom, Togekiss, Ferrothorn, Sableye and Mudsdale. And Alex is going to be running his own Arcanine, his own Wash Rotom and his own Ferrothorn, but then is going to be running the Bravery, Tyranitar and Sylveon.
Yeah, so fairly similar teams in the way that they want to operate. We've seen Guillermo doing quite a lot of work with that Mudsdale. We saw it use its stamina boost to very good effect, as well as using the max Quakes to increase its special defense as well, so it becomes a very difficult Pokemon to remove from the field. But speaking of difficult Pokemon to remove, both players have those Ferrothorn, should I say, on each of their sides of the field. So Arcanine on Guillermo's side of the field and Arcanine on Alex's side of the field are going to be absolutely crucial for both players to preserve. Make sure that they have enough gas in the tank to be able to deal with that Ferrothorn in the late game if they need to. We've also seen that Mudsdale. I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to keep coming back to it because it's such a big player in Guillermo's team, is also sporting that body press. So if it's managed to take quite a few attacks, going to be able to boost the power of that body press, and we've seen it so many rounds doing so much work.
Yeah, and here we're going to be having the final trainer card battle, which definitely Alex is the winner of in this case.
I'm going to call it, being Guillermo as the winner. I am fully in favour of the no customization here.
Well, we're going to have to see who's going to be the winner of this finals as well instead, as we are going into turn 1 of this finals with 2 Wash Rotons coming out from both players. So Guillermo is going with that Togekiss and Rotom, and Alex is going to be going with his own Rotom and that Sylveon.
Yeah, 2 fairies coming out here, but with quite fundamentally different ways of playing. Sylveon we haven't seen too much of within the tournament, but has been known for a long time to be doing loads of damage with Hyper Voice, which is changed into a fairy type from its Pixelate ability and boosted in power as well. So something that Guillermo's going to have to watch out for. But also, we've seen little bits and pieces of it using things like Quick Attack. We've also seen things like Yawn coming out. So does have a lot of other options to use, and certainly when you have these two players facing off, every turn is going to matter.
Well, in this final, it seems like a turn 1 Dynamax is going to be the play yet again, and it's going to be for Alex this time. So he is going to be Dynamaxing his Rotom here, going to be able to have 100% accuracy on those water moves with the Max Geysers, and also threaten that Togekiss with the Max Lightnings coming out from the Rotom.
Yeah, that's it. So lots of pressure coming out here straight away from Alex, but Guillermo wanting to do exactly the same thing. Let's see if he's decided to match Rotom for Rotom, both turn 1 and turn 2, but no, it's going to be that Togekiss coming out.
No, Togekiss going to be Dynamaxing instead of the Rotom here. Going to have access to that Max Airstream, be able to increase the speed of the Togekiss and the Rotom on Guillermo's side of the field. So we're going to have to see if that's what he wants to go for, but he instead wants to go for a Light Screen coming from this Rotom Wash on Guillermo's side, and a Max Lightning on Alex's side from his own Rotom into that Togekiss that has Dynamax, and thanks to that Light Screen and the Dynamax, is going to take that actually very comfortably here. So not too much damage coming out into this Togekiss, as the Max Lightning is going to set the electric terrain on the field and also activate the weakness policy on the Togekiss, increasing its attack by 2 stage and its special attack by 2 stages, and it's going to make use of that immediately, going for the Max Airstream into the Sylveon, picking up a 1-hit knockout onto the Sylveon thanks to that weakness policy boost. And it doesn't even seem like there was a critical hit there. That was just the power of the weakness policy coming through, knocking out the Sylveon, increasing the speed of the Togekiss and the Rotom as well.
Yeah, this is an absolute testament to the way that Guillermo has trained his Pokemon. Being able to use Light Screen from Rotom first, allowing that Togekiss on Guillermo's side of the field to take less damage from Max Lightning coming out from Alex's side of the field, but then being able to reply back with that weakness policy boosted move. An absolute testament to how he's trained his Pokemon. Tyranitar coming in for Alex though, going to be able to threaten that Togekiss with big powerful rock moves. We see Rock Slide quite commonly, but actually Tyranitar wanted to set the sand and then remove itself from the field. Remove
itself for this Ferrothorn that has switched in for Alex's side, and Guillermo's Rotom is going to be going for a Thunderbolt into Alex's Rotom as well, and Togekiss is going to follow up with a Max Starfall that was into that Tyranitar slot, but instead hitting the Ferrothorn for over half damage. So much damage coming out from this Togekiss thanks to that weakness policy boost. Ferrothorn usually a good counter to the Togekiss, but still taking so much damage, and the Rotom on Alex's side is going to be firing off yet another Max Lightning into this Togekiss, but as we've seen, thanks to that Light Screen, it's really going to take that quite comfortably, and because Rotom is levitating, it's not able to make use of the electric terrain boosts.
Exactly, and Ferrothorn, usually a really good switch into Togekiss, as you say, usually able to take those fairy moves very well with being resisted with its steel typing, but actually taking over 50% damage is really significant in this game. It's going to mean that Ferrothorn is going to be susceptible to another Max Starfall potentially from that Togekiss, and what that means is that Ferrothorn isn't going to be able to switch out on a potential fire move or a potential Max Airstream coming out from Togekiss into that Tyranitar, because that Tyranitar is threatened as well by Max Starfall. So yeah, absolutely fantastic turn there for Guillermo, really putting himself on the front foot, and the speed advantage that he's gained with Togekiss is going to be coming through every turn from there.
Well, Ferrothorn here is going to be protecting itself from another move coming out from the Togekiss, but instead the Rotom on Guillermo's side is going to be Thunderbolting Alex's Rotom as well, and Max Flare is going to come out from this Togekiss, it's going to hit through the Protect, and because Ferrothorn is 4 times weak to that fire move, and thanks to the weakness policy boost as well, it is able to pick up the knockout even through the Protect. So Ferrothorn is just going to faint here and bring Alex down to his final 2 Pokemon, and this Togekiss is putting in so much work, and it's going to be hit now by a Max Lightning again from the Rotom, and it's been hit by 3 super effective moves coming out from this Rotom, and that Light Screen is really putting in work, letting this Togekiss survive all 3 of those Max Lightnings.
So much work, absolutely crucial for Guillermo's game plan. Alex has got to go back to the drawing board here and find a way around that Light Screen. Maybe Alex has a way of removing the Light Screen from the field, or try to maybe remove the Rotom from the field sooner rather than later, to make sure that Guillermo isn't able to set up as he has done in this game, and just be able to launch such powerful attacks with that weakness policy Togekiss and do put himself so far forwards.
Well, the Rotom on Guillermo's side is once again going to Thunderbolt the Rotom on Alex's side, and now that it has lost its Dynamax form, it is going to be doing a little bit more damage, and the Rotom on Alex's side is going to be munching away on that Citrus Berry, recovering a bit of HP, and Air Slash from the Togekiss into the Tyranitar is going to pick up that secondary ability and going to flinch the Tyranitar here. And is that a Volt Switch coming out into the Rotom as well, doing a bit of more chip damage, and as well as the chip damage coming out with the Sandstorm as well?
Yeah, it was a Volt Switch coming out there, so Rotom not switching out because Tyranitar and Rotom are the last things on the field, and yeah, it looks like Alex is in a pretty sticky situation. That Togekiss is probably now going to be content to start launching out some Dazzling Gleams, maybe using Hydro Pump on Rotom to start doing damage to that Tyranitar, but unfortunately it avoids.
Yeah, no damage coming out from this Hydro Pump that was targeting the Tyranitar, but Togekiss doesn't really need that. It's going to do so much damage with the Dazzling Gleam of its own, picking up the knockout on this Rotom and putting the Tyranitar dangerously low in range of any other move that Guillermo would want to go for. He has activated the weakness policy on the Tyranitar though, increasing its attack, but Rotom missing its Hydro Pump on the Tyranitar. Tyranitar is going to respond right back with an Avoid, with a Rock Slide on the Rotom as well. It is going to finally pick up the knockout on the Togekiss, but the Rotom being able to dodge there is going to be able to survive and try and fire off another Hydro Pump, or even just a Thunderbolt now to pick up the KO.
Yeah, we normally say in these positions when somebody's, on the ropes and hasn't got many options left, that where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way. Unfortunately, in this case, it wasn't the Rock Slide that Alex wanted to come out there. So Arcanine coming in from Guillermo, looked like Rotom was the faster Pokemon on the field. Arcanine may also be faster than Tyranitar, so both potentially able to fire off their last attacks into Tyranitar and close out the game for Guillermo. But we see Alex here, he's taking a little bit of time, maybe thinking about what he's going to do in Game 2 before he goes into Team Preview, give himself as much time as he can to figure out maybe what he can do differently to adjust going into Game 2 and have a little bit of a better time.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of players do need to do. If they can take the time to think of a new game plan, it's very worthwhile doing so. And as we see here, the Tyranitar is going to be protecting, and it would be knocked out to any move that Guillermo wants to go for. But Alex is going for that Protect on the Tyranitar, going to let it survive for one more turn, allow him another turn of thinking time going into this Game 2. And as we're in the final, you want as much thinking time and coming up with a new game plan as possible.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, if you are not winning this game, you're not taking home the crown. So these players really want to be doing as much as they can to make sure they're going to be winning the game. We used to, in the previous format, have a round timer that can affect whether you take the time in these turns, but in this tournament, the rules have changed slightly. Each game has a round timer on it, so these players can take as much time as they want as the final Thunderbolt goes into Tyranitar, takes the knockout, and it's Game 1 to Guillermo.
So just one game away now from taking home this regional championships for Guillermo. And now Alex does have to come up with that new game plan. We hope that he's had enough time now to be able to formulate what that game plan would be. The light screen coming through from Guillermo, really crucial. He was just attacking with special attacks for the first few turns of the game and really not doing enough damage to that Togekiss. And hitting it with the super effective moves, activating that weakness policy, we saw it do just so much damage, knocking out the Sylveon in one hit and doing over 50% to Ferrothorn, one of the main counters that usually to that Togekiss.
Exactly. We did see a Max Flare coming out from the Togekiss, so when you look back at Team Preview, and we'll see that in a moment, come onto your screens, guys, it will be, I think, crucial for Alex to start using that Tyranitar to much greater effect much earlier on. Now, obviously, we know that it's weak to those fairy attacks that come out. We saw that Dazzling Gleam after the weakness policy activation do a lot of damage. We know that Hydro Pump from Rotom is going to do a lot of damage to it, but it is crucially a physical attacker, and maybe using that Dynamax on Tyranitar in combination with a potential Tailwind from something like Braviary could be a route for Alex to go down to bring himself forward, get rid of that Togekiss early, because Togekiss did so much work. And
one of the nice things about the Tyranitar as well, it will underspeed the Togekiss, so it won't activate the weakness policy on the Togekiss before it would attack, so it would fire off the Max Starfall. Tyranitar, if it went for that Dynamax, it would be able to survive and fire back its own Max Rockfall after it's taken the Max Starfall, and maybe activating its own weakness policy there, being able to pick up the knockout on the Togekiss. So that might be a good way through the Togekiss here. The light screen put in a lot of work for Guillermo going into this game. So maybe he does need to change to some of his physical attackers, because he did lead with 2 special attackers in that turn 1.
Exactly, and we saw that Rotom on Guillermo's side of the field was faster than the Rotom and Sylveon on Alex's side of the field, so was able to set up that light screen first, and absolutely crucial to Guillermo's game plan. So, that Tyranitar, not known for being fast, but equally, as you say, if it's slower than the Togekiss, it's going to be able to get that rock move off, use the super effective hit when you're slower than the weakness policy Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. Make sure that you get the damage off and they don't.
Yeah, so let's see if Alex has come up with that new game plan, and once again, going to be winning this trainer card battle against Guillermo. Definitely the better trainer card in going into this final. So we'll have to see if the players decide to adjust, or whether they think that the game plan they went with in game 1 would be the correct one. But Alex is going to be switching up and going with that Tyranitar as his lead alongside the Sylveon, and Guillermo is going to be going with the same lead he went with in game 1 with that Togekiss and Rotom.
Yeah, I really like this switch up, and we were talking about the Tyranitar coming out on the field. That's exactly what we see for Alex here. Guillermo deciding not to switch it up, happy with what he led in game 1, and potentially going to be using some either that light screen again to stop that Sylveon, using its Hyper Voice, doing lots of damage to both Togekiss and Rotom. If we saw that Tyranitar going for its Dynamax form, using a Max Rock Fall onto the Togekiss, it may be that even if the Togekiss was able to survive that hit, especially if it goes for its Dynamax form, that Sylveon may be able to finish off the turn with a Hyper Voice, and maybe with that and a little bit of Sandstorm Chip, may be able to dispatch the Togekiss.
Well, we are going to see a Dynamax immediately. It is going to be that Tyranitar, like we were saying about wanting to go for those big physical attacks, bypassing that potential light screen on the Rotom and hitting the Togekiss with something like a Max Rock Fall. And are we going to see the Dynamax immediately from Guillermo? Yes, we are. It's going to be 2 Dynamaxes on turn 1 yet again in this regional, and the final seems to be the place to do it as well, with that Togekiss Dynamaxing.
I'll tell you what I want to see right now. I've just remembered that we talked about Sylveon maybe having something like a quick attack, so maybe we're going to see the Sylveon activate Tyranitar's weakness policy.
That would be great to see here, but Rotom is going to be going for that light screen again, protecting his side of the field from those special moves, and Max Darkness is going to be coming out here, outspeeding the Togekiss actually, so the Tyranitar is actually going to be moving first, hitting the Rotom with that Max Darkness, doing a lot of damage and lowering the special defense of the Togekiss and the Rotom here. So a much speedier Tyranitar than we were expecting, and Togekiss actually being a bit trained to be a bit bulkier and slower, but going to be going on the offensive here instead with the Max Flare into the Sylveon, going to get rid of that sand and set up the sun instead. So no more chip damage is going to be coming out onto the Togekiss and the Rotom, and it's got rid of the special defense boost that the Tyranitar had, thanks to it being a rock type. And now Sylveon is going to finish up the turn with a Hyper Voice, and thanks to the Max Darkness lowering the special defenses of the Rotom and Togekiss, doing a lot of damage and putting that Rotom dangerously low. Absolutely
dangerously low, but really good there for Alex that Rotom did not get knocked out that turn. Really crucial part of VGC is making sure you know when you're going to be taking the knockouts. You don't want to give your opponent a free switch into something that could be pressuring your side of the field, and certainly with that sun in effect, Tyranitar is going to be taking a lot less damage from something like a Hydro Pump. It doesn't matter if it was sand or sun, Tyranitar's happy in both weathers in this case. So, yeah, quite like the fact that Rotom survived there for Alex, but looks like it doesn't want to take another hit, and Guillermo's switching out into Arcanine.
Really wants to survive and stay in the back, safe for its trainer, and sending in the Arcanine instead, going to intimidate this Tyranitar, lowering its attack by 1 stage. So it's going to be doing even less damage as well, and doing no damage this turn at all because it is deciding to go for the Max Guard. But Togekiss is not going to be attacking into the Tyranitar here, going to be going for a Max Airstream into the Sylveon instead, and no weakness policy this time yet, so Sylveon is able to take that Max Airstream as the Togekiss is raising the speed of the Arcanine and itself, and the Sylveon is going to be firing off yet another Hyper Voice, but that light screen is really still coming into play.
Absolutely, and even with the special defense drop from Max Darkness, that Hyper Voice is not doing really any damage of note to the Togekiss. So that's lasting a long time, and Alex is running out of time on his Dynamax Pokemon. That Tyranitar still hasn't launched out any max rockfall, so looks like Togekiss may be in range for it this turn.
Well, Sylveon here is going to be switching out into that Rotom for Alex, and a Will-O-Wisp is going to be fired off and connect with the Tyranitar, so it is going to have its attack cut in half and doing a lot less damage. And now, thanks to that max Airstream boost to the Togekiss' speed, is now able to outspeed that Tyranitar, go for that max Starfall into the Rotom, doing a lot of damage here. And we're going to have to see if the Tyranitar finally decides to go for that max Rockfall into the Togekiss. But first, we're going to have that Citrus Berry munching away on the Citrus Berry with the Rotom there, recovering a quarter of its health. And finally, we're going to see the max Rockfall come out from the Tyranitar. And is this going to hit into the Togekiss? It is, and it is going to do not too much damage at all, thanks to that burn from the Will-O-Wisp and the Intimidate from the Arcanine as well. But now we're going to set up the sand, but also activate that weakness policy once again on the Togekiss.
Yeah, and we're going to see it be a big threat. It's already used some of its max Airstream, so now going to be the last turn of Dynamax. Both Tyranitar and Togekiss are going to go back to their normal forms. We're going to see the ability for Togekiss to use that Dazzling Gleam to great effect that it did before. But something else I want to talk about here is the move order that was happening in this turn. Guillermo has trained his Arcanine to be faster than his Togekiss, and maybe why that Togekiss is a little bit slower than maybe we expected it to be. So that Arcanine is able to launch out these Will-O-Wisps, make sure that Tyranitar, in this case, is not doing so much damage with that max Rockfall, but then set up the Misty Terrain so he's not blocking those status moves coming out from the Arcanine.
Yeah, and he's also set up the sand as well, so getting that special defense boost on the Tyranitar as well, maybe able to survive now the Dazzling Gleam that would come out from this Togekiss. But Arcanine is going to be switching out into the Ferrothorn for Guillermo here, and the Togekiss is going to be firing off that Dazzling Gleam, and it is able to knock out this Rotom here and do a good amount of damage to that Tyranitar, but also is going to activate the weakness policy on the Tyranitar for Alex's side now, so effectively going to counter that burn and go back up to its original stage of attack, and going to fire off that Rock Slide. Is able to connect this time with the Togekiss and knock it out and do a little bit of damage to the Ferrothorn as well.
Yeah, so Togekiss returning back to Guillermo here, but Togekiss in a lot of ways has done its job now. It's managed to remove the Rotom from Alex's side of the field, managed to do a lot of damage to that Tyranitar, and with the burn, that Tyranitar is now on a timer. It's not going to be able to survive to the end of the game, and certainly when you're staring down something like a Ferrothorn on Guillermo's side of the field, you've got to be sure that you want to be playing the long game. Tyranitar's not going to be able to do that.
Well, crucially here, we don't see an Arcanine switch in for Alex instead, so he doesn't have a fire Pokemon to be able to hit this Ferrothorn here, so he's going to have to rely on some of his fighting moves maybe coming out from this Bravery, and I believe we've seen Superpower come out from the Tyranitar as well, so the Bravery, the choice of Pokemon here for Alex, quite surprising as well.
Yeah, indeed, and actually something that's really been really good for him, we saw the Defiant activate from Arcanine's Intimidate there. Defiant sharply raising your attack if you get any of your stats lowered. So Bravery now up +1 attack and does, as you say, Jamie, carry some of those fighting moves typically. Usually we see something like a Superpower, so it's going to be launching some big attacks into Guillermo's side of the field and something that Guillermo's going to have to play around.
Yeah, and Arcanine here, we have seen that it has access to that Will-O-Wisp, and it does naturally outspeed the Bravery, so it could cut that Bravery's attack in half if it was able to connect with one of those Will-O-Wisps here. But Arcanine instead wants to keep itself safe. It's going to protect itself here from the moves coming out from Alex's side of the field, and he's actually going for a double protect here, both on the Arcanine and the Ferrothorn, so the Bravery is just going to be Brave Birding into the Ferrothorn protect, and Tyranitar is going to be revealing that it is carrying that Superpower into the Ferrothorn as well.
Yeah, so a double target here on Guillermo's Ferrothorn. You have the option here for either a Superpower potentially from the Braviary or Brave Bird. At +1, you maybe want to be using that Brave Bird. Even though you've got Recoil, you're not lowering your stats, and certainly Alex is going to have to maintain his offensive presence here. So maybe that's why he opted to use Brave Bird, which is not super effective against Ferrothorn, instead of something like a Superpower, and follow it up with a Superpower from Tyranitar. Yeah,
like you said, he's going to be going for that Brave Bird once again, and this time going to be hitting into the Arcanine, and thanks to the increased stages of attack that it got from that Defiant boost, it is able to pick up the knockout on this Arcanine, and Tyranitar is going to follow up with that Super Power, but really doing not much damage at all to the Ferrothorn. And yeah, the Ferrothorn's able to shrug that off really easily, do some Iron Barbs chip to that Tyranitar, maybe putting it in range of the burn this turn, and is able to fire off a Gyro Ball into the Bravery, not quite knocking it out, but the Sandstorm will be able to pick up this tiny little bit extra of HP on the Bravery and pick up the KO.
It will be, and it looks like we've got a little bit of leftovers recovery from the Ferrothorn and the burn tick coming on to Tyranitar. So Tyranitar left with only 4 hit points, going to be fainting next turn unless something crazy happens here and that burn goes away.
Yeah, so Tyranitar will need to knock out Guillermo's Pokemon this turn if it wants to make use of that final turn. But we have seen that the Ferrothorn on Guillermo's side does carry Protect. I don't know if we've seen the Protect come out on the Rotom yet, so if he did carry Protect on both Pokemon, he would be able to just go for that Protect and knock out the Tyranitar. But if the Rotom wasn't carrying Protect, then it will need to attack this turn.
It will do, and the question is does that Sylveon carry a fire move or not? Because that may be what Alex is going for here. We know that now it gets access to the new move Mystical Fire that it didn't used to have access to, so could be a threat for Guillermo's side of the field. We'll have to see what happens in this turn, and whether or not Guillermo decides to protect and wait out that Tyranitar.
Yeah, well, the Rotom here, we've seen that it was outspeeding that Tyranitar before. It should be outspeeding this Sylveon before. It should be able to get an attack off into the Sylveon, and the Sylveon is so low now, it may be in range of any move that the Rotom would want to go for. But instead, we do see Protect is on this Rotom, so Guillermo is able to protect his Rotom. He's able to protect his Ferrothorn, and he's able to let the burn do that tiny bit of damage to that Tyranitar to pick up the KO.
He is, and Sandstorm's going to be ending this turn, so that Rotom is not in range or not going to be taken down by the Sandstorm here. We do see the Mystical Fire coming out from Sylveon into the Protect on Ferrothorn, so really great double Protect there from Guillermo. We're going to see that last bit of leftovers recovery, another 4 hit points coming away from the Tyranitar, and Tyranitar returning to Alex.
This looks like it might be it. This looks like we might be crowning our regional champion here in Bochum. The Sylveon can have access to the spread move and Hyper Voice, but Ferrothorn will be resisting that and will be able to return a knockout onto the Sylveon. And if he decides to go for the Mystical Fire into the Ferrothorn, the Rotom has free reign to attack into the Sylveon with something like this Thunderbolt. Is this Thunderbolt going to be enough to pick up the KO on the Sylveon? It is, and Guillermo Castilla is your 2020 Bochum Regional Champion.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic game there from Guillermo. Look at him there. He is representing Spain. He is so excited. And he is going, I don't know if you managed to catch it there, he is in the embrace of all of his fans, his friends there that have come to support him. Absolutely fantastic there, really happy for him. And of course, commiserations to Alex, also representing Spain, so Spain having a fantastic tournament this time around. And yeah, fantastic game to cast.
Yeah, you could really see the passion behind Guillermo's reaction there. You could see that he wanted this, and he's got it. That was a fantastic performance in that final. Yep. Such a solid game plan going in. The light screen coming through really, really well for him. The Will-O-Wisp were cutting down the attack on the Tyranitar as well, so it was doing less damage. Activating the weakness policy on the Togekiss both games. Togekiss putting on so much offensive pressure on Alex's side. They just ended up not being able to deal with that.
And it's so tough to deal with. A Togekiss is a Pokemon that usually we see sponging attacks. And we did see it sponging a lot of attacks in this game.
Yes.
But the difference here is that the way that Guillermo had trained his Togekiss, he was putting on the pressure as well, exactly as you said, Jamie. So fantastic play there. I'm quite disappointed that while it was in the team, we didn't see the Sableye coming out into the finals, but I'm quite happy that Sableye has finally won its first regional championship.
Sableye is a regional champion. And of course for Romy as well, Mudsdale is a regional champion.
Indeed,
and
indeed.
There's no Salazzle as a regional champion, unfortunately, but it's great that we could get some of our favourites in this final and actually end up winning the whole thing. So congratulations to Guillermo. We're going to be cutting to a break now, and when we come back, we will have an interview with your new champion. Hello and welcome back for the final time to this Pokemon 2020 Bochum Regional Championships, and I am here with your champion, Guillermo Castilla. Guillermo, how does it feel?
Wow, incredible, incredible. It's amazing because when I stopped playing Pokemon in 2012, I thought that I will be able to participate in tournament, but not to win again, to be in the top. And now, being the champion of this tournament of the bigger regional in Europe ever is amazing for me. This, for me, this has the same meaning that my Spanish national and my Italian national. I put these three tournaments in the same step.
Yeah, it's amazing to see you being able to win those tournaments all the way back in the 2011 and 2012, and then still be able to, after all these years, still come back and be able to win these tournaments.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's really hard. Sometimes I felt that I couldn't play as I played before, and this is something that sometimes became. I feel really angry, really bad, and now is the opposite. It's something amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing for you. So I just want to talk quickly about the game going into like the Rotom with the light screen. Not a common move we see on that Rotom at all, but really being key. Letting that Togekiss even lift 3 max lightnings from that Rotom. So what made you decide to go with that light screen on the Rotom?
Well, firstly, this thing, it was made not only for me. I have a group of friends, 3 of them has participated in this tournament. Flash MC, who was top 4 in World Champions in 2012. Juan Casape, Mythos, who is the best team builder in Spain and probably in Europe, and Jose Pablo. We all made the team, because of we have Will-O-Wisp in Arcanine. We decided to put light screen in Rotom in order to give more bulk to Togekiss and Mudsdale, because they two are the Pokemon that usually use Dynamax, and we need to give them more bulk.
Yeah, and we saw that really come into play with the Togekiss, allowing it to take those 3 max lightnings, activating the weakness policy. It was able to knock out the Sylveon with one shot of a max airstream, so really strong Togekiss coming out.
The reason is Mythos. Mythos is, as I said, the best team builder probably in Europe. He made the calc, he made the UV spread in all the Pokemon. I can show you all the number he done. It was amazing, and one of the probably matchup was against Rotom and was the latest screen. He tried to survive for light screen, latest streak. I don't know. I don't remember the name. He's amazing doing these kind of things, and this is the reason this Togekiss was able to kill Sylveon and also survive all these Din attacks.
Yeah, it was a really well built Togekiss and really came through for you in this final. 2 Pokemon we didn't see in this final, but we did see in your previous games, the Sableye and the Mudsdale. So, the Sableye being quite a unique pick going into this tournament, but ended up winning a regional championship here for you. So Sableye and Mudsdale, some quite cool picks going into your team.
Can you repeat, please?
So explain why the Sableye and the Mudsdale were put onto your team.
Well, the line of the team is, well, as I said, it was idea of a group of people, and Juan Casape gave me the idea of testing Mudsdale in December, and I made a team around him. I thought about, well, Mudsdale probably something like Arcanine could be great, and Rotom is really good, and I started doing the Firegrass Water core, and because of that I obtained Rotom, Ferrothorn, Arcanine, and then I also think, well, Will-O-Wisp is something that could make me problem. It could be, and then I thought, well, follow me to X could be nice, and well, why not weakness policy? And I could have two different Pokemon. And finally, the last Pokemon was Hydreigon, and Flash gave me the idea that we had many problems against Snorlax and against Trick-Room, and I thought, well, we thought really, well, why not Sableye? It's Dark type, Fake Out. We don't have a Fake Out Taunt, Full Play that could kill Dragapult, and also another attack that I wasn't able to. I couldn't use during the top cut. That was Quas. Quas made you attack the last. And for example, if you are in trigger with Rhyperior, I also could before you. And this is the reason the team.
Yeah, a really cool team coming out from you.
Yeah,
so
amazing.
We saw you get the top 4 back in the Sheffield Regional Championships, and now you've won this championships here in Bochum. What are your future plans going into this season?
Well, I think that I could fight to reach the day 2. I could reach. I think that I am one of the best European players. I think that, and not only for me. My results in these 2 regionals say the same. But I promised my girlfriend that when I had the day one points, and I will stop playing Pokemon. I will spend time with her, because during this last 1 month and a half, I was more focused in Pokemon than her on my friends, and it depends on her. If she, hi Irene, if she wants me to fight to reach the day 2, I don't. Could be. If she told me that, well, I know her. I know that she's always supporting me, and I know that she is going to say that yes, come on, let's go. But I have to talk with her. I'm 27 years old. I have my work. I have my hobbies. I have my family, my girlfriend, my friends, and Pokemon is something that is not as important as these things. It depends. If I see that Pokemon doesn't steal me time to spend with the people and with my hobbies, I could try to get the day 2. If I see that it's impossible, see you in August.
Well, we hope to see you in the future tournaments anyway, and we will be seeing you in that World Championships in August in London as well.
I'm gonna play for probably during years, many years, and I have the point for day 1. The main point is to try to become Pokemon as something important for me or not.
Excellent. So, one final thing left to do is to present you with your regional championship trophy.
Can I say something?
Of course.
When I won the Spanish national in 2011, in the picture that we have with all the top 4 players, I had my trophy, and I did this in 2011, and I did a 1. And many people say that the 1 is because I was first. When I won the 2012 Italian national championship, I did this. Many people say that the video of victory, and no, it's because I knew that I was going to win more national, or in this case regional tournament. For in this case, I will take my trophy, and these 3.
Yeah,
big
3 championships for
3
you.
3 champions in Italy, Germany, Spanish, and I know that there are 3, and there will be 4 in the future.
We'll have to see when that comes in the future, showing some nice confidence there going into the future tournaments. So that will be it here in the Bochum Regional Championships. I'd like to get fellow casters Romy and Ben back onto the screen for one final time here in Bochum. So we hope that you've enjoyed this regional championships, and we hope that you decide to come along to some future tournaments, whether that's just some of your locals, your Premier Challenges or mid-seasons, or even like these regionals and even the international that we'll be having in Berlin in April. And of course, using those tournaments to qualify for the World Championships in August in London. So that's going to be it from us here in Bochum. So hope you enjoyed the show and come back for the next regional.
And the last, AUPA Getafe y AUPA Peña Azulejo, siempre ahí.